setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And welcome to the WBT. Glad you're here. Sit down, get a cup of coffee. Oh shoot, I just remembered. I made a cup of coffee and left it in the kitchen. Well, okay. Cold coffee, warm coffee, cream and sugar. Everything will be okay after this podcast. So this may be a short podcast. No, not really. Listen, what are we going to talk about today? Our conversation, you and I, are going to talk about the economic punishment that is going to happen to our nation and globally, because there is an economic problem. I'll be back in just a few seconds. Every crisis there is a dispute. If you need help settling that dispute, send for mediation at 818-252-5682. Send me a message now.
World of Business and Taxes on WBT.
So as we are all locked down, all of our businesses are shut, people are trying to work from home, but are they really working? We don't know. I know I'm working because I operate out of my home. But listen, we have a really bad problem because listen, when we are locked down, nothing is happening. And it affects us economy. Not does it just affect us health-wise, because listen, hospitals are really basically locked down also. All they're focusing on right now is emergencies and the coronavirus, taking care of that. But the problem is that all the other things, parents trying to get information about a rash on their child, are having a very difficult time getting to go see a doctor or a hospital, an emergency room, because it's just impossible at the moment. This telemedical thing that's going on just doesn't do the full job when a child has something on them and they really cannot see it clearly. So there's a problem. We are having a medical crisis. We are going to have a medical crisis again because hospitals have not been bringing in revenue. Their beds are empty. So when that happens, what happens is that the hospital begins losing money. And if they lose any much more money, they could literally be shut down because they cannot function as a hospital anymore. It's very expensive to operate a hospital. Let me tell you, I have looked at it. I have been in that healthcare industry for so long. I even was in the process of purchasing a hospital a couple of years back. And I tell you, it is expensive to get a hospital up and running and going, and then meeting the needs of the community. But if it's not meeting the needs of the community and it's losing money, it can go into bankruptcy very, very quickly. So we have a healthcare issue right now. Will our hospitals survive this? That is the question you should be asking in every single one of your communities, even internationally. Listen, I talk to people internationally on a daily basis. I'm talking to people in Dubai, in the Philippines, in Thailand, in Malaysia, Indonesia, in Europe. And what I'm finding is that they are very concerned about how the hospitals are operating at the moment. A good example in Dubai, there are hospitals that are not protecting their employees. They're not. In Dubai, they have employees who live in company housing, so when they go from their work contaminated with COVID, They go into their households, and usually they have about 2 employees to each room of that house or a condo that they're staying at, their company housing. So they go from contamination and they bring the contamination in and they infect other people. And that's what's happening at the moment. And the hospitals are not protecting the overseas foreign workers. I'm seeing that more and more every single day, and I'm hearing it from more and more nurses that are texting me. So internationally, you are going to have a serious problem if you are infecting your frontline workers and not protecting them. You're going to cause a situation where you're not going to have much nurses. By the way, I saw an article yesterday in the United States that doctors and nurses are being laid off. They're being furloughed because there's not enough work for them in the hospitals at the moment, because all they're focused on at the moment is COVID. Can you imagine doctors and nurses being laid off when we have individuals sitting at home with healthcare problems and developing even more healthcare problems because they cannot go see a doctor, they cannot go see a nurse? We have that big time problem. The other issues that we have to think about on this economic downturn, people are not buying as much as they used to do because they can't go out and purchase. Small businesses are failing at the moment. They're going into bankruptcy. They're losing their businesses. So but individuals are not spending. So what happens is that when people are not spending, the economic impact is great. Consumer confidence is down. Consumer spending is down because they don't know what's going to happen, because we've got a situation within many governments who have panicked and created turmoil within the countries that they are in, especially here in the United States. It's created turmoil. A couple of days ago, the CDC director came out and said, it's going to get even worse. Well, what do you think that does to the panic of Americans, or even to anybody? When you keep hearing this, how many people are going to die, but then those numbers never live up to what they're saying. Remember, when we first started this, the projection for death from this COVID thing was 2 million people. Then it dropped down to 200,000 people. Then it dropped down to 60-some thousand people. And now it's dropped even further. The number keeps going down and down and down. So we had the CDC who was coming out with these big, huge numbers of how many people were going to die. When they do that, that puts a shiver, a very severe shiver in the American people. And so consumer confidence goes down and consumer spending goes down. And that's what has happened. That's what has happened. You know, I went to Target yesterday. One onion, $1. Now, I have never spent $1 for an onion. Do you know how big an onion is? It's very small, right? And by the way, this onion that I bought was a tacky old beat-up onion. It wasn't a fresh, brand new onion. It was a tacky old beat-up onion for $1. I bought 2 of them, and there were only 6 left. So we have those situations that are creating this economic panic and disaster mode that we're in. And we have to step back and say, okay, what do we do to solve this? Well, we have let a virus take control over our economy and our lives. We have allowed that to happen. And now we have to pay for it because it's going to take a long time to get us out of this slump. People who are 2 months now behind in their rent, that has to be paid up. That doesn't just go by. That isn't free. That has to be paid up at some time. But they can't pay it now because they can't work. In America, we have food banks. Can you imagine? 4.4 million people last week again lost jobs. We are over 20-some million people that do not have work at the moment. So food banks have opened up, and the food banks cannot keep up with it. People have lost all their cash, and now they're looking for any way to feed themselves. We let this shutdown go on way too long. The majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. And the unemployment benefits that were supposed to come from some of these states still have not come to the unemployed. And the promise was from the government that even if you were self-employed, you were a subcontractor or a independent contractor, excuse me, working out of your home, you would be paid unemployment. Hasn't come. Florida's 4 weeks away from getting that to even be able to pay people. By then, all of these individuals will have nothing. Zero. Nothing. The only way that we can get back on track is if we start opening up our businesses and start getting them going and focusing on building back up this economy. Listen, we can build this economy up. But it takes us all working together. So, Americans, we have some things. The other things that happen is that since Americans are not purchasing, and if we do start back up, we have a issue, and that is the supply. The supply chain disruptions have made it difficult for the U.S. firms to finish the products that they need to make, because the people down the line, the people who provide the supplies to make the product, have been shut down. They're closed up. And now they have to be focused on ramping up their operation. Well, ramping up an operation takes a little bit of time. It takes planning. I have been talking to you small business people for weeks now about sitting down and planning during this time off, this lockdown time, and start planning how you're going to ramp up your businesses. Deciding which income streams to focus on first to start generating cash, and also the individuals to bring in value to your company. Not all of them can come back at one time. So you have got to be choosy on who you bring back so you can ramp up quickly. Okay. So we have that problem. We have supply chains. Consumers are buying fewer things. Uncertainty over the virus and its economic effects is really going to damage this economy of ours. We have right now businesses failing. If you walk, I just walked through my little village here. It's called Northwood. It's north of Palm Beach here. And where I used to see salons and shoe stores and little knick-knack places and nail salons, the names are gone, and it's replaced with for lease. So they're gone. They stopped their operation. They did not have enough cash to continue on. Small businesses operated at a very small margin rate. Their profit margins are very low. So one big catastrophe like this virus can completely wipe them out. If we do not bring back businesses very quickly here, we are going to see more and more companies die out, more and more small businesses die out. And those are the individuals that are ending up in the food lines because they have no place to go. Their cash has dried up. And all of these promises that come from the government, yes, we're going to help the small guy, we're going to help the small businesses. Most of the small businesses can't even qualify for any of this government handout. They just can't. And then we see big companies like Harvard University and other larger companies taking advantage of this stimulus money, and small businesses fail. They're dying out. I encourage every single one of you, if you can, when you go out to buy groceries, look at that little fruit stand that's selling vegetables and fruit. Stop there and buy something. If there's something, a little stand or a store that's open, stop in, buy one little thing, even if it's $2 or $3. Listen, it can help. These people need help. But I'm calling upon the president and all the governors of all 50 states, open up your states. Let the businesses begin to flow. We know what to do. Listen, we know exactly what the CDC requires of us in handling and protecting ourselves from this virus. We know what to do. If we have to wear masks in our office, fine. That's fine. The other issue, as I was thinking about this, is that if you look at the outcome of the shutdown, we have had higher suicides because there's no one to talk to them anymore. We have higher drug overdoses. We have families having more chemical reactions to the cleaning chemicals that they have. So we've got poisonings, chemical poisonings on a rise in family homes. The mental health patients and people with issues have no one to talk to. They can't get a hold of their counselor. They can't get a hold of their psychologist. So they're kind of left out in the cold. So we have all of these things mounting up, keep growing and growing and growing. Businesses going out of business. The healthcare side of our lives are getting worse. The economy and the prices of product is going up. So we have inflation happening. I mean, my gosh, paying $1 for one single onion. I'm just mind blown. I walked out of the grocery store the other. I only had 3 bags, just 3 bags: dog food, eggs, some vegetables, some frozen stuff. $78. 1 week, $78. And the reason why is because the pricing is now going up. I was talking to my neighbor the other day. I said, "Have you noticed that the cost of food has gone up?" She goes, "Exorbitantly." She says, "I try to buy enough food just for 2 weeks, just to survive. And then I try to find places like restaurants and restaurants and other places that are selling off their meat." And so she's trying to scrape by because she's on a retirement salary and she walks dogs, and no one's walking dogs anymore because everybody's at home. No one's sending their dogs to be babysat because everybody's at home. No one's traveling. So she has zero cash income coming in. So you see how this has affected every American in some way, some portion or another. Some form or another. And we cannot let it continue. And listen, I'm talking to people in Dubai who can only go out once a week. Just once a week to do anything. If they have to get permission from the police to leave the building. They have laid off and downsized their nursing staff in the hospitals. Even the insurance sides of these hospitals are laying off their individuals and bringing people in. One works 1 week, the other one works another week, and they switch off. And then on top of it, I was talking to nurses there, and the hospital said, "Listen, we need to take 7 days from your paid holiday leave and give it back to the hospital so that they can survive." Now, here in the United States, what they've done is completely lay off departments, completely laid off doctors. I walked past the hospital in my morning walk. I walk past it every morning, and I monitored to see how many cars are out in the parking lot. 10 cars maybe. On a good day, maybe 20. When that parking lot used to be packed with patients and visitors and everything else. Now it's hardly anybody there. So you have people sitting at home with aches and pains, needing to get some medical attention, but they can't get it because the hospitals won't allow them to come in. So how long does a hospital last when they have no revenue coming in from patients? How long does a business last when they have zero customers and clients coming in for business? It's so dynamic. I want you to know this is so dynamic and so horrific that if we don't get our economies back up, we are going to have not just a depression in the United States, we are going to have a depression worldwide. And that is what is scary about this whole situation, is that it will affect every single one of us. It will affect our healthcare. It will affect our daily lives and living and eating and providing for children and providing for our older people. If we don't have an economy that is up and running and growing and have the ability to make money and to take care of our families and friends and relatives, whoever we're taking care of, we are going to be destroyed as a nation. Because politicians overplayed their game and were so focused on a virus instead of what will happen to you and me in this economy. I know that a lot of us are literally, our bank accounts are running on air at the moment because no money is being pumped into our bank accounts. It's a sad situation, but it's happening every single day. We are losing more cash, but no cash is coming in. It's happening with me. So I feel the pain. I feel the burn of cash, but no cash coming in. And the problem is, I as a small business, as an independent contractor, have no opportunity for any of that money that the government is giving away because I don't qualify. And the majority of small businesses don't qualify. I read of a small business who owns a hair salon, a couple of hair salons. No, I think she owns 3 hair salons. Her employees were mad at her because she got the payroll stimulus. And they were mad at her because they said, we would make more money off the government unemployment and all the other benefits than you paying us as our employer. So they were mad at her because they were going to lose money because they could make more money off the government back. So we've got to get these businesses up and running so that we are back to a semi-normalcy on economic issue and money coming into our households and not be dependent upon a government agency to provide for us. That's not how America is supposed to be. That's socialism. If you are wanting to get money from the government, that's a socialist act. I know you need it at the moment, but we don't want it to continue on. Now, this hair salon owner thought she was doing something good for her employees, but they didn't see it that way because they were going to lose money on that. So we have got to rethink this whole thing, and we have got to get back to businesses up and running, money coming in, people getting their tips again, people getting their payroll checks again, people making money on the side in the private gig economy. We have got to get this back up and rolling again. We can no longer be locked down. So I call upon the president, I call upon the vice president, tell the governors, unlock America. unlock America so that we can get back to business. That's all I want. I just want to go back to business. I used to do 4 mediations a week. I'm now down to 0. Zilcho. Nada. Listen, if you have any comments or concerns, send me a text at 818-252-5682. 818-252-5682. If you even need to talk to someone from 5 p.m. until 10 p.m. at night, if you need to talk, if you need to get stuff off your chest, send a text that says talk to 818-252-5682, and I will send you a link where we can talk at. I'll give you 30 minutes and we can talk it out. If no one else signs up after you, I'll give you a full hour, whatever the amount of time that's available. But right now is a good time to get things off your chest. So listen, from 5 until 10 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be available for you. Just remember, there's always somebody that is available to talk, and I'm here to talk. And that is one of the things that we have lost out in this lockdown is the interaction with other people. So interact with me. I'm available. There's no charge. I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm not going to do anything like that, okay? We're just going to talk about whatever you want to talk about. That's it. Now, talking about selling, listen, I've got 3 books out on Amazon because I wrote 2 books during this lockdown. One of them is called Ethically Thinking. It's Not That Hard. The other one is called Corona, Remember When. It's a humorous book. I took all of the funny things I read and saw and heard about the coronavirus and being locked down. And the other one is called, oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. Isn't that bad? It's called Daily Strategy, Mediation of Business and Life. And basically that book is my blog that I do every day. And I just went back for a full year and I wrote down all the blogs I had done every single day. And that's what that's about. And it's about mediation, it's about negotiation, it's about communication, it's about ethics, it's about a whole bunch of different things that you have to deal with on a daily basis. So go to Amazon.com. I'll list it in my comment section of this blog. I'll list all the books that you can go to. I mean, you don't have anything else to do, right? It was so funny. I put out a blog over the weekend and I said, tell me what you've done during this lockdown that has made you better. And I got a whole bunch of different things. And most of them involved cooking. It seems like everybody, even the men, decided that they were going to learn how to cook. So I'm assuming that we are going to have a really big problem with people losing weight. Probably the weight loss enemy will be the first. The weight loss economy will be the first to come back after the lockdown is released. Also rehab. I think a lot of us are going to have to go into rehab because of this lockdown. So two businesses you should focus on when the lockdown. Helping people lose weight because we have gained a ton. You know how it's so bad that when your office, my office is right here, and just a few feet away is a refrigerator? Do you know how many great decisions I have made looking into the into the refrigerator? I have made a ton. But I also had a sandwich at the same time. But we have got to get our lives back under control, people. We've got to get to work. We've got to go to lunch. We've got to meet with people. We've got to be able to build our businesses and our home life upward, and our economics of each of us. Our bank accounts need money in it. We need to get back to where we were before. Yes, we have a virus. We may have to wear some masks. I tell you, somebody's better come up with some designer masks. I mean, that's another industry, I guess you could. By the way, speaking of masks, as I'm thinking about this, Gavin Newsom, governor of California, made a $1 billion deal with, guess who? China for face masks. $1 billion. It's now under review of the state Senate and the state House of Assembly. $1 billion with China to make face masks when they could have been made right here. What was he thinking of? Especially doing business with China, who created this thing. I tell you, sometimes we have stupid politicians. I mean, really stupid politicians, which create even a bigger problem for America. Creates a bigger problem. That 1 billion masks, you know how many people could have been working? They could have been making masks and making money. Small businesses could have popped up in his state. But unfortunately, all of his businesses have run out of the state. People are running out of there because of the way that the governor is managing. By the way, he just approved payment to illegal aliens, people who are there illegally, who are not citizens of the U.S., to pay them $500 a week. Now remember, these individuals have not contributed into the tax system, into the state tax system. Oh yeah, they've done the sales and use tax. They've done that bit because they buy stuff. But they have not participated into the payroll systems at all. Because they're illegal to work. They cannot work legally. So there you go. There you have it. You have a governor that is out of control. You've got a legislature there that is out of control and doing more damage to that state. And unfortunately, the California taxpayers have to pick up the tab for all of these things that he is doing. It's a sad situation, my friends. So let me end this podcast right now because I'm done. I've had it. I got to go and do some work. The little bit of work that I do have, I got to do it. Again, if you have any questions or concerns or if you need to talk, send me a text at 818-252-5682. This is Mike Lodge for the WBT. I'll talk with you very, very soon.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast was produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.